Hey, it's Bryan here. Today I'm super happy to introduce you to the Jun-6, a sweet sounding polyphonic software synthesizer and a recreation of a true classic. In this tutorial I'll take you through its best features and show you some of the great sounds and tricks that you can utilize in your productions. Let's check it out. Jun-6 is Arpeggiator's own unique software recreation of the synth legend that defined a whole era of pop and electronic music. It features up to 36 voices of polyphony, has a beautiful design with a high-resolution 3D user interface, sounds great thanks to our careful component level modeling, and is packed with extra features and provides a lot of stunning presets along with a simple and effective structure. Let's see it in action. The signal path starts with a digitally controlled oscillator, or DCO. It provides a variety of waveform shapes plus noise, waveform shaping, and modulation controls. This is how each waveform sounds. The first one is the sawtooth. Pretty buzzy with lots of harmonics. And the second one is the square. Which is bright, very present and filled with lots of low frequencies. Square wave is also complemented by its dedicated pulse width modulation control. With it you can modulate the square waveform shape either manually with the LFO, as well as using the envelope, giving you a wide range of options. You can, of course, also mix the two waveforms together, or even add the noise or sub-oscillator, which adds one more square waveform to the mix. The DCO module provides you quick access to the LFO modulation amount that's affecting its frequency. Pretty cool. Now that we know how the sound is generated, let's move on to the filters. The first to explore is the non-resonant high-pass filter. When increased, it cuts out the low frequencies. The next module is the voltage-controlled filter. It consists of a low-pass filter with a slope of 24 dB per octave and a few modulation amount controls. Let's go through the whole filter range to get a good feel of how it sounds. Now, let's increase the resonance to see how sweepy it can get. Okay, what's really cool though is that it can also self-resonate. To hear it, turn off the DCO, increase the resonance and lower the cutoff point to hear the pure sine waveform. Now, to be able to play it across the keyboard, we have to gain control over its pitch. For this to happen, all we have to do is increase the KBD fader fully up. Lastly, we have to tune the cutoff point to the note we are playing, compared to the DCO. Perfect. Now we can enjoy an additional sine waveform on top of the ones in the DCO, extending the Jun-6's range of possible timbres. Those primary VCF parameters are complemented with the envelope, LFO and keyboard modulation amount controls to provide a bit of movement into the filter. By increasing their values, we define how much these impact the VCF. Let's start with the envelope fader. Once it goes up, we can hear that the sound changes. This is because the envelope settings now influence its behavior. If we set the VCF cutoff to a low value while increasing the envelope attack time and envelope modulation amount in the VCF, the filter will slowly open, making the sound less static. There's one more control dedicated to the envelope which allows us to invert its polarity. Setting it as such will create interesting reversed moments, allowing the sound to breathe after being choked while the keys are held. More than that, we can also introduce another modulator, an LFO. Increasing its value will create additional movement. When combined with the envelope modulation, it can produce some really interesting results. Okay, double filter modulation checked. The last control, called KBD, defines the relationship between the keyboard and the VCF cutoff point. As the value increases, the higher the note you play, the more voltage-controlled filter will open, just like this. In other words, the higher the note, the more bright it will be, and vice versa. The VCA is where the overall volume of the synthesizer is handled. Here we can decide whether it's controlled by the first ADSR envelope, the gate trigger coming from the keyboard, thus disconnecting the VCA and VCF from the envelope, or by the second envelope, which we will cover later on. Now let's focus on the main ADSR envelope. By default, it is connected to the VCA and VCF, but you can also disconnect it from the overall volume. Its main principle is to change the behavior of the sound over time. Longer values for all stages will be good for lush pad sounds. While shorter settings can create snappy and percussive sounds. Moving on, let's take a look at the chorus section. The chorus is a key component of the core sound of the Jun-6V, and we made sure we've got it sounding right, spending hours on careful emulations of the original chips and components. Here, 3 presets are available, from which 2 are stereo and 1 is mono. Just check it out. Adding chorus instantly adds texture to the sound and widens the stereo field. There are 2 more chorus presets to explore. Let's try the second one now. Finally, the best part is that you can combine 2 presets, creating a third one with a slightly faster rate. Let's hear it in action too. Well, that speaks for itself. Now let's focus on the additional functions of the Jun-6V. Okay, time to discuss the chord mode. This module allows you to play chords with just one finger, like this. To make it work, click on the select function. Inside, you are presented with the virtual keyboard. Then you can select up to 25 notes that will create your chord. Let's press on, and here it is, a chord triggered with just a single key. Next up is the Arpeggiator. To enable it, simply press the on button. The mode section gives us 3 playback directions: up, up and down, down. We can also change the range, engaging up to 3 octaves to extend the complexity of the arpeggiated patterns. Finally, we can define the speed of the pattern. As you can hear, the variety of the simple controls allows for really versatile sequences, slower or faster. All fronts are covered. The second modulator present on the front panel is the main LFO. This module produces a sine or triangle waveform. Here you can manipulate the rate of the LFO and define if it's synced with the master tempo or running in hertz. Its hidden trick is the delay mode function. With it, you can introduce a fade into the LFO cycle, and you can do it with various slopes. Let's hear those now with the LFO applied to the VCF. First LFO fade-in has a small delay in the fade-in stage before rising to the full value, while the second fade-in arises without the delay stage. The last bits of front panel magic are hidden on the left side of the keyboard. The unison mode assigns multiple voices to each key that you play, creating a heavy chorus effect on the sound, like this. You can also use the detune knob to detune the DCO's frequency, making the sound even wider. To make it even more interesting, increase the portamento value. This will make the notes slide between each other, making the gradual and subtle changes in pitch. This makes the Jun-6V perfect for deep basses or higher lead sounds, and all of it is possible with just a few tweaks. Now let's check out the available performance controls called Bender and Mod Wheel. You can use the Bender to either affect the DCO pitch or the VCF frequency parameter. In each of those parameters, the modulation amount faders will define how much modulation is applied. LFO Mod Wheel controls the front panel LFO, giving you quick access to the LFO modulation for the DCO and VCF. There's one more hidden feature that makes the Jun-6V rather special. It's the voice calibration module. You will find it hidden in the little compartment located in the top left corner of the interface. It offers 3 modes that modify the calibration of the voice's parameters, such as the oscillators, filter, envelopes, and more. This module recreates the disparities that can be found in analog voices due to the component tolerances in aging, creating a more organic and natural sounding behavior. The first one, called Good, emulates the behavior of a properly serviced unit. The second one emulates the behavior of a unit in acceptable but not accurate condition where slight inconsistencies can be heard. While Poor emulates the behavior of a unit in poor condition, where rather noticeable inconsistencies on the voice's parameters can be found. the chorus noise deactivates or activates the chorus noise. To sum up, you can use those modes in various situations. If you go for a clear and crisp sound, make sure to use the good mode, while the more rough and unstable patches could work well with the average and poor modes. Let's check out what's added in our own advanced panel, which unlocks additional functions. It starts off with the assign mode, where you can create routings between the keyboard modulation sources, mod wheel, velocity and aftertouch, and various Jun-6 parameters of your choice. You can, for example, use velocity to control the portamento. The other typical use would be to connect it to the filter envelope amount. And that's just one example of what you control with the velocity. There are more modulators to explore. Next in line is LFO number 2. Starting off, it provides various waveform shapes, master tempo synchronization, polyphonic mode, and 2 modulation destinations with bipolar amount controls. To get a feel of it, it's a good idea to set it to polyphonic mode. In this way, each voice will be affected separately. Therefore, if we attach the LFO to the VCF frequency, this is how the poly mode will behave. The remaining 2 modes can set the LFO to monophonic or turn off its retrig, making it free running. Don't forget to play with the bipolar amount controls. This allows for setting both positive and negative modulation values. While using the negative value with the ramp shape, we can combine this LFO2 with the LFO1, producing a double LFO modulation effect on the filter. Additionally, the sync control will synchronize the LFO to the master tempo. The available time divisions vary from 1 32nd note up until 8 bars. Jun-6 modulators are completed with a second envelope generator. For example, if we connect it to the sub-oscillator, we can gain control over how its volume will change over time. If we set its attack and sustain to higher values, the sub-oscillator volume will be introduced slowly and then instantly disappear after the release of the key. By the same logic, you can invert the envelope with a negative amount value, making the sub-oscillator appear just at the beginning of the trig and then dissolve slowly. You can apply the sound building method to any of the 37 destinations that are available in the Envelope 2 module. Last in the signal path are 2 spatial effects. To get a feel of how the delay sounds, just increase the dry-wet fader over your current presets. It instantly sounds great. As with the other modules, it doesn't take a lot of tweaking to make it sound nice. However, it comes up with a few interesting controls to explore. You can, for example, synchronize the delay's repetition to the host tempo, as well as just increase the amount of those repetitions, starting from the basic resonating short delay and going up until the maximum setting for never-ending repetitiveness. The rate control can be targeted as the modulation destination. You can use the LFO or the envelope to modulate the speed of its repetitions. Finally, we can also spread the delay's repetitions over the stereo image. Okay, let's explore the last module of the instrument, the reverb. To activate it, simply press the on button. To hear how it sounds, just increase the dry-wet fader. As you can hear, it's instantly lush and a bit metallic in the high end. However, we can manipulate this aspect by introducing a bit of the damp control. That will dull out the higher tones of the reverb frequency spectrum. Thanks to the size and the decay, we can define how big and long the reverberations will be. Let's play a bit to get a good feel of it. Okay, the last tip comes with the pre-delay control. This one will help us to split and emphasize dry and wet signals, introducing a separation between those. When increased, there will be a small delay between the dry and wet versions of the signal. Alright, that's it for the tutorial. I hope that you got a chance to see and hear how the Jun-6 covers the iconic features while also adding its own unique twists and a bit of magic. If you're looking for a simple yet very effective polyphonic virtual synthesizer that will give you a great sound and hands-on approach, this one's for you. Thanks for watching and have a great time playing with it. Enjoy!